Good afternoon, South Africa, and welcome to a brand new week. A warm welcome to Afternoon Express. My name is Danilo Acquista. So it's a Monday, and we're here to motivate you today. And I'm super excited because today we get to focus on the men and what men in the making is all about. Today, joining us in the loft, the morning fix from Metro FM, the host, Mo Flava, is in the building. We're so excited to chat to him about his career, about his personal life, and the journey of 2016 so far. Then in the Western Cape, we know gangs are a big deal. We've got a guy by the name of Don Pollock joining us in the loft today. He is going to tell us more about his brand new book called Gang Town, which focuses on the gang structures within the Western Cape. That should be an absolutely fascinating discussion, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And then last but not least, the SABC has got this incredible partnership. It's called Men in the Making, where they're trying to teach young people about what the future holds for them when they grow into society as men. What is their role in that future? We'll find out more about that a little bit later on, right here on Afternoon Express. I know we're also cooking something so delicious in the kitchen. Bonnie's on standby.
Good day, South Africa. I hope you had a great weekend. I did. Did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Yay, I'm glad to be back. So what are we making?
So this week is dedicated to everything health. I mean, we just come back from Easter. Chocolates, hot cross buns for days. It's going to all be about the health.
Yeah.
Starting, we can kick it off with a spicy Thai black rice dish, some sauteed chicken, and a coconut dressing just to, like, smooth things out a bit.
I've also heard that black rice is a good antioxidant.
It is, and besides that, it's delicious.
Awesome, awesome. Can't wait to get cooking. Pop over to our website, afternoonexpress.co.za. You'll find the full recipe and shopping list over there. There's more flavor on the couch.
Indeed. So every day he entertains thousands of people across the country on their way to work and through that first cup of morning coffee with his Metro FM show, The Morning Fix. Aside from being a radio personality, he has also got a strong passion for education and the youth of South Africa, which is reflected through his various CSI projects focused on education. Joining us in the loft is Mo Flava, and I'm just going to tell you that we've got two things in common.
Which is?
The first is a co-host, well, like sort of like colleague, okay? So you guys work with Bonang, so do we. But second of all, it's the swag, you see.
So in the swag department, who's above who?
No, I think we're pretty equal. I think maybe I'm slightly above.
Right, well, let's start with the shoes.
Fine,
I think I win this round.
Dude, okay, well, let's talk more about your career. I'm so excited to have you in the loft.
Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here first time. Really good.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm surprised you're awake at this time of day. I thought that you guys would have been sleeping in the afternoon. That's what you...
Well, maybe it's because the radio DJ has evolved over the years, where I'm assuming that back in the day you'd hear the guy saying, I'm going to bed after this. But now you can't just be doing radio. You have to do other things to, you know, grow your career. So that's why I'm still up at this time.
Speaking of which, you've had some incredible little moments already in 2016. One of my favorites has to be on the 1st of April, the April Fool's joke that you did with Deleuze.
Oh, yes.
How much fun was that?
Well, that was absolutely fun. I mean, I remember, you know, discussing with the team and saying, listen, we've got Deleuze coming on Friday, and we can't just let him walk in and out without anything happening. Yes. So we decided to pull a nice little April Fool's prank. You know, myself and Lerato, my co-host, walking out the studio while the interview's live. And
her phone rang in the middle of all of that,
just decided to carry on with the show as if everything is normal.
But guys, he must have known that that was an April Fool's joke. I mean, he must have thought something is going to go on in the show today. Why am I coming in on the 1st of April?
No, I think he sort of guessed that it might be, but then there were things we did that made it feel like it's natural. And that's the thing about pranks, that you got to play along so well, make it so believable, that even the person that you're pranking ends up believing, nah, it's actually real, it's not a prank.
Is that why you felt when you had your crazy New Year's experience where you had hosted a whole really cool event? And let's just say lots of money was lost in the process. And the whole year wasn't a great success. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, it's something I do every year, where I host an event at a specific venue in the East Rand, in Joburg, and obviously... it was business as usual for me, but it was also business as usual for a lot of criminals who decided to have their way with my money. I still didn't get my money, but I can safely say that I'm still fine regardless of all of that happening. So, yeah, it happens. But I host a lot of events because as a house DJ, I think it's important to keep yourself involved in the space, not just playing the music and making the music, but also... you know, hosting big parties and hopefully getting people to come out and have fun.
Weren't you and DJ Christos and Vinny Da Vinci, like, didn't they help you get into that sort of space?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, back in my Y days, Vinny Da Vinci used to mix on my evening show. And, you know, he just decided to put me on his shows every time he hosted a gig. And then eventually, because he works with Christos, Christos also realized that there must be something in this guy. And I used to open for, you know, some great DJs, you know, Frank Roger and... you know, a whole lot of other guys, Rocco as well, some big names in the world of house, and you know, I'll do like 2-hour sets from like 7, 8 p.m., you know, and that's how I got to grow myself as a DJ. And this is the thing, some people don't understand that you have to put the work in. you have to pay your dues.
It's
If it
not
means
about
you got to play for the cleaning staff before you play for other stuff when the party's peaking. So yeah.
But you've got to actually work with that. You've got a talent in all three. And I mean, you, in terms of the sort of radio and sort of media space, you're what's regarded as a triple threat, I think, in so many ways. Because you've got the DJing, which you can do after hours. You've got your radio show, which also trends every freaking morning, by the way.
Yeah, I still don't know how that happens. Because it's not like anybody comes on the show nude, but we still trend. It's the weirdest thing
radio.
in the
No
world.
one watches the new radio stuff. But that's what's so fascinating about radio at the moment. I think you've built this community of people who love hearing what you do, and you really have got this personality that I think just people warm up to you, and they just feel like you've brightened their day before it's even begun. So I wouldn't be surprised that the sort of trending stuff happens. But
it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. In fact, now that you put it in that way, it's even more scarier because it means there's pressure and there's...
It's on you now.
Yeah, and there's this level of expectation. And, you know, we human beings, we're not like a product that you can buy from the store and every single day it's the same level of quality. So it just makes it all the more challenging. What's
funny about your career, because obviously I work in radio, but I've never been the sort of breakfast and drive time DJ, and you seem to have had both of those before you had moved on to Metro. So you've had quite a tough career in the sort of media, but have just blown up.
Well, I remember with my previous boss, him saying, listen, it might be in your favor to do this afternoon show. Because it makes you more diverse, you know? And I think moving from morning then when I was on Y, it certainly helped. When I got to Metro, I already knew, you know, both worlds. There's nothing exciting about waking up in the morning. But once you get to the studio and realize that you got about 6.8 million people that you could possibly be keeping entertained, it's something else altogether,
It's so crazy. I mean, obviously, with your natural progression, I think you're a go-getter. You're a guy who just never wants to stop. I know you mentioned the education stuff and how important that is to you. But you've sort of obviously grown. The 15th Annual Metro FM Awards, hosting with Queen Bee.
Oh, yeah.
What is that experience like? Because I know you're sitting on a TV set at the moment. You know what the experience is like. Is it so different to your radio career?
It is different. There's something about live TV, and it was my first time doing live TV. It is the most sensational experience that any broadcaster can ever have and go through. Everything happens. I mean, there's so much planning with the pre-production and getting all the shots right and going through script and all of that. And when it all comes together, it just happens so quick. And all that stuff that you prep for needs to happen now, as we go, as we go, as we go. And even for Bonang, I mean, she was a nervous wreck before we went on air. And I'm thinking, if Bonang is nervous, how am I going to make this, you know, thing happen? But it was a really amazing experience, and I'm very grateful for the station for giving me the opportunity to host one of the biggest music shows in the country.
One thing I've noticed that you don't really speak about much is your relationship with your son. And today we're focusing quite a lot on what it means for men in our country and sort of moving over into society. Men, as we mentioned, are playing quite an interesting role, and they're going to play a very important role as we move forward in our country. And are young people being taught enough skills and life lessons about growing up and becoming a man as opposed to just a really old boy? You know, what is the lesson that you think you've taught your son throughout the process of your life? What is the lessons you're hoping to leave with him?
I think just being yourself. And it's interesting you mention about, you know, I don't talk about my son a lot. It's because people can't believe I'm a dad.
I know, you're far too young for this stuff.
It's crazy. Like, I'm a dad, and you are a dad? Of who? Of what? No, it's a person, not a thing. No, not even.
Okay.
But, you know, I grew up in a family that allowed me to be myself, which is why I was even able to get into the media industry, because I was able to study. My parents had to pay for that. So I could only give my child the very same sort of allowance to say, be what you want to be within the confines of, you know, decent moral behavior. And of course, my responsibility to raise him well, which is not a role I play alone, by the way. And I think that's a very important point to make, in that people think that it all rests with one person. It never does. That's not how I was raised. With all the amazing people in my life, there were still a number of men who shaped me to be who I am today. But I mean, I try and be as real as possible with him,
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to chatting a little bit deeper about this conversation a bit later on. We'll be speaking about all the NGO work and stuff that we're speaking about with you a little bit later on. So that should be super, super exciting to hear more about that sort of side of your life. So I'm very, very excited about that. After the break, we're making that inspired, Thai-inspired rice with chicken and coconut lime dressing. And we're back on the couch with Mo Flava, so stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
Experience the world in a way less limited. Apply today at dinersclub.co.za.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express, live on SABC 3. Now, we're about to start our Thai-inspired dish, and the main feature is black rice, right?
It's black rice.
Yeah.
So this week we're talking about everything healthy and trying to be healthy, coming back from Easter
From
now.
the Easter,
One of the most important things is when you're trying to eat healthy that actually puts people off healthy food is texture. Everything seems to be soft.
You're right,
So
yeah.
we're using Thai black rice because it's got a bit of a crunch to it. Even after it's cooked, not crunch, it's just that al dente taste.
Yeah, it is quite an acquired taste.
I
black
love it.
rice.
It's got that amazing nuttiness to it, which works really well with savory dishes and desserts.
Okay.
So we're using this as the base of our dish. So into a pot and with cold water.
Do you need to cook it longer than white rice?
Well, it takes about 45 minutes. It really depends on the method of cooking.
Right.
Well, the way I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to a rapid boil. Once it's boiling, turn it down to a light simmer, lid on, and then about 25 to half an hour, you'll be good. Just taste it. Taste as you go. And another thing that's very important is to season. Rice like salt, but we're being all healthy today. So in our dressing, we're going to use fish sauce, which is going to add that saltiness. So we're just going to add a bit of salt to the rice now.
Okay.
So we'll let that come up to a simmer. And so the next part of this dish is going to be our chicken. So we're going to fry it off and we're going to kebab it. But we're not going to use normal oil. We're using coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
It's still a saturated fat, so you're going to have to be easy with it, not overdo it.
Yes.
But it's a healthy alternative.
It is, it is. I love coconut oil.
So when it comes to making skewers, I've got to think about skewers. I love them, but I love them when I make them. It kind of makes them like tiny small pieces, and I can't deal with that. So 1 chicken breast into 3 pieces.
Okay.
That's it. Keep it chunky, keep it big. And then you get it on let me get the pan on so long.
Yeah, so it kind of has like an espetado look, right?
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got to keep, especially, kebabs, they got a little piece of chicken, it's got a little piece of onion on it, and a little piece of green pepper. Can't do.
You're not about that.
No,
You're not here for
at
that.
all.
Okay, okay.
Keep it big, keep it
Show us
chunky.
what you're here for.
So I've got one that I've done over here already.
Okay.
Popping some of this coconut oil in the pan.
Right.
And as I'm seasoning it, as I cook the chicken, I'm going to season it lightly. So I'm not going to season it now because a lot of it falls off into the pan.
Yes.
So let's just get the chicken in there first. Like I said, as it cooks, we're going to season it. So we're adding more crunch to our dish by pan on. We're going to use desiccated coconut.
Okay.
And we're going to toast it.
Oh,
That's going to give us a really light, crisp flavor in the salad.
Okay.
Or in our rice dish. So into a dry pan, because coconut has a lot of oil in there already.
Yes.
So don't bother adding any more oil. So get it nice and even in your pan. Get an even layer. That way, as it starts browning, it browns evenly. You're not going to get little lumps of brown and black.
Yeah.
So get that on there. So these are like we're talking about flavor. We're not adding any extra sauces today. We're literally using the ingredients as the main flavors. We're using chili, ginger, garlic.
Natural flavors, yeah.
But now we've spoken about Thai before, and one of the most important things is balancing. So we're using the limes to add that acidic flavor, but instead of using palm sugar or sugar to add the sweetness, we're using mango today. And that's where we've got to be smart. We've got to think of other ways to use ingredients. So instead of like adding raw sugar to a dish, just think of other things like mango. And also, we're not adding cream to our dish. We're using the coconut milk to bring in that creamy element.
Yeah, so you can still have a decadent dish, but it's healthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this one is really quick to put together. If you've got your rice made, it generally will take you about 20 minutes to be done from beginning to end.
Right.
So there's quite smart. You've got to be, preparation is the biggest thing.
Okay.
So we can see we line up all our vegetables ready to go.
Coconut seems to be browning very fast.
Thank you for being so vigilant, you see?
Yeah. So I'm here.
You see, and you can see it started to brown already.
Yes.
And besides that, it actually brings out so much flavor.
I can smell it already,
like, as you would use croutons, you got yourself toasted coconut.
Wow, wow. Okay.
And then just keep on going. You get those bases ready.
So we want our chicken quite crunchy.
Yeah, that's another
crispy.
thing. When you put a chicken down in the pan, don't mess with it. Put it down, let it seal properly for a good minute.
Okay.
And then turn it over. Don't worry, it's not going to burn.
Okay.
Like
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And yeah, give it a minute good and solid on that one side and let it go. And then you'll start turning it over. So let's see. We're almost there. Leave it. Let it do its thing.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, cool. Pop over to our website, afternoonexpress.co.za for the full recipe and shopping list. Let's head back to the couch for more flavor.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it smells okay, but you can add Mo Flava. All right, dude, we haven't chatted about your sort of CSI projects, and I've heard you say before in the media that you're really worried about the state of our youth in our country and sort of moving forward. So what you've done is something incredible. A lot of people approach us as media personalities and they say, man, I really want to do what you do. I really want to go and get an education. How do I learn? Finances are always a big issue when it comes to that, because media seems to be sort of so exclusive and closed up and the sort of way that it's educated. So you're running with a couple of bursaries, which has been such a crazy process over the last few years.
Oh, yeah, it has. I got a lot of, requests from people saying they want to get into the industry. And, the last thing I want to do is say, just walk in and hope for the best.
Yeah.
I think it's important to promote a sense of education in the country. It doesn't matter what you do. Get some sort of training for it.
Yeah.
So
it'll either teach you tenacity, it'll teach you hard work if it teaches you not the skills, you know?
Yeah, and you know, ultimately become a professional. And my whole thing about it is, let me try and see what I can do in my space as a broadcaster to help other people get in. The first point of departure is to get them through school.
Yeah.
Right? I can't say get into radio or TV or whatever and not encourage you to get trained, because you've got to learn it from somewhere. And that's how I came out with this initiative, to take people to school. I studied at Boston Media House, and I just felt, you know, let me take people there because I believe in the institution.
Yeah. Well, you've had first-hand experience of it.
Exactly. And, you know, it's produced some really, you know, high-quality broadcasters. So that was the whole idea behind it, and it just grew and grew and grew, and more people, you know, got to hear about it, and the demand got so much bigger. People from all over the country literally, you know, benefit from this. People from Taung, people from KZN, people from, you know, Mpumalanga. It doesn't matter where. And it just sort of makes me realize just how massive the interest in media is. Totally. You know, just beyond what you and I do. People want to get into PR. People want to get into advertising.
Producing, directing, all those things.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is, obviously, it's been going on for about 6 years now, and I'm very interested to know what the previous applicants have been like. Do you keep in touch with the stories? And like, how do you manage to stay in touch with whether this has been a success or not?
I mean, some of them have actually had the opportunity to work with me in a number of things that I do. Some of them have gone on to do other things. Some of them haven't made it through the course because of a number of reasons. But I mean, it's the reality of the country we live in, and it's also the reality of students. You get in, some people don't make it through, some people do.
Totally.
But my whole thing is to give people a chance and an opportunity, and what you do with it is entirely up to you.
You're opening the door. You're not walking them to the... you're not walking them through that door.
And even then, you can go through school, but it still doesn't guarantee you that you're going to get a job on Metro or SABC 3 or Afternoon Express or whatever. So it just, you know, my step is like the first step, but maybe others can play the second step.
Totally. Have there been any success stories so far, people who've ended up in a medium very similar to you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are a couple of people in the communication industries, for example, who have gone on to work various agencies, PR firms, advertising firms. I've seen some guys working for TV production companies as well, which is good. I'm yet to, you know, find somebody that's going to make it into my space, get to the level where I am. I will push hard and hard and hard to get somebody to even one day work with me. I don't know how I'm going to do that because I've got a lot of bosses to convince, but hopefully we'll get there someday.
There's so much talent in our country, though.
Absolutely.
It really is bubbling under. And so I'm really excited to see how this kind of develops. And in some ways, you're investing in your future because maybe one of them starts owning a production company or a new radio station or something globally, and then look who they're going to employ first.
And I think it's up to each and every individual, with whatever they have, the resources they have, to empower others. You know, that's just where we are. So let's try and make things happen amongst ourselves. Let's stop relying on people to do things for you, and so on. Just do things yourself and try and help others as well.
And stop waiting till you think that you're now ready to share some knowledge. Right now, where you are in the industry that you've got some knowledge to share, so share it right now.
And it's funny because I would go through these interview processes with candidates, one-on-ones, and sometimes I give them a chance to do like a little live demo for me on the mic, and I end up talking about the industry, and it's just this whole thing. So even, you know, without even being able to help myself, that's all that comes out of my mouth. And I think that motivates me because I love talking about what I do. I love talking about our industry. I think it's a wonderful industry to be in,
And you're a young guy who's been incredibly successful, so I'd love for you to share some pearls of wisdom. What do you think is the biggest issue our youth are facing at the moment, and how do we overcome it?
Well, I think we are a motivated bunch of people in terms of what we want to do. But I think the challenges that we face in helping us get there are the things that demotivate us.
What are those?
Access to the economy, access to opportunities. I think the majority still have difficulties there, whether you look at their studies, whether you look at getting into the workplace. You know, as a student, you need to have money to study. And then once you're done, you need to have experience to get the work, but you don't. You need to be in big or major cities. You know, people from small towns have to come to big cities to find work and so on and so forth. So we need to get to a point where things are evened out. And it's going to take a while. And then there's other issues, you know, like the drugs and all of that stuff. But they all sort of come in at different phases in a young person's life. And it's just really up to the environment they're in to try and help them swim above all those challenges. Or there will be challenges.
Totally, and that's the thing. It's, you're not teaching them how to avoid them. You're teaching them to say, you are going to face these things. How do you build the tenacity to get through that?
Right. But we're a very motivated bunch of people, as young people, and I think we have a lot to offer the country. You know, whether you look at the motivation and the thinking and the strategy behind Fees Must Fall, or, you know, the way some of the young entrepreneurs are coming up with great ideas on how to find solutions in communities around the country. using science and so on. I think there's many great success stories. We just need to have that in a wider range so that we can get more results. Yeah.
So there is hope. There is hope for our youth.
Absolutely. Lots of hope.
Awesome.
And I think there's also a need for fresh ideas, man. We need new, innovative thinking, new ways of doing things. And I think young South Africans certainly have that.
Awesome. Mo Flava, I can't wait to hear your voice on the radio as we go on. Wish we could have this couch for the rest of the show, but we've got to move on. But it's really, really exciting to have you.
Thank you.
We'll chat to you a little bit later on in the show too.
Great stuff. Having fun so far.
Awesome. After the break, we're joined by investigative journalist and author Don Pinnock, who has just released a new book that details the intricate world of gangs, from the neighborhoods where they operate to the prisons in Cape Town. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
Your next Magnum could be the one. Find a key with a unique code and stand a chance to win a shopping spree worth 100,000 Rand, plus designer fashion accessories by Gert-Johan Coetzee. Unlock the M Collection.
Unlock the M Collection.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Great to have you back with us. Award-winning investigative journalist and author Don Pinnock holds degrees in political science, criminology and African history, and is an expert on gangs, rituals and rites of passage. He's also the former editor of one of South Africa's leading travel magazines and a research fellow at the Centre of Criminology and Safety and Violence Initiative at UCT. His latest award-winning book, Gangtown, is a detailed and non-biased examination of violent gangs in South Africa and in particular Cape Town. Welcome to the loft, Don.
Thank you.
You're quite a phenomenal...
There was a long list. I
Yeah,
hate that list. It
very
doesn't
impressive.
connect in any way. You know, what does an investigative journalist
Well,
do?
you're going to tell us. What does an investigative journalist do?
I think you have to have curiosity. That's really what gets you going. And writing, I absolutely adore putting words together.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's really the stuff that gets me going, and also anger. I get really angry at what's happening to things like elephants and the environment, but
Yes.
particularly what's happening to kids.
What kind of issues get at you to start investigating them? What is it about an issue that will grab you, that says to you,
You know,
need
these
to dig
things sort of
deeper?
roll in my direction.
Yeah.
I've had this long interest in the environment and how we don't look after it. And way back, I used to go to District 6 and wander around there, and I loved it. It was in Cape Town. It's fabulous. The people were great, and they were, you know, they'd sort of they'd offer a bit of zol, and they'd offer you a bit of this,
And you'd have some and
then-
pass it back.
I
yeah.
won't go into that, but then, but then I went away and came back, and there was this hole in the city. It was this complete hole. I was horrified. I knew it was happening, but when you actually see the absence of the community you know, it's a shocker. And I was living in Long Street in Cape Town. That's quite near District 6, and there were lots of kids in the street. And I sat down with them, and I said, why are you here? Why are you in the street? And they said, we lived in District 6, and they moved our family away, but then they left us. Sure. And there was this pack of kids that had been flushed out of the movement of the city.
Wow.
And that really got me asking questions. That got me into the interest in gangs.
Yeah. So you're a criminologist. What does that entail? What does that even mean?
It's a wonderful discipline because it's nothing particular. You know, it's a bit of history, it's a bit of sociology, it's a bit of psychology. It has law involved. It has even sort of genetics and biosocial stuff. So it studies all those areas, and I don't think any criminologist will ever tell you exactly what their discipline is.
Yes.
I come from a history background. I've got into epigenetics because, and we can talk about that if we need to, but and I'm particularly interested in motivation, in why people do things. What is the reason for that happening in society, which is why I got interested in gangs, because why do these kids do this? It's a big question.
We'll talk about gangs just now. Before we get there, you also co-drafted the Child Justice Act. How did that come about?
Well, that's the criminologist thing. I was in the Criminology Centre, UCT, and that was in the transition. It was 93. And Donna Omar said, we really have to have legislation around kids because there was no particular legislation around what happened when kids got arrested. So a few of us got together and we started drafting this stuff. And we looked at all the main countries in the world, and their legislation around kids is terrible. It really is punitive. So we started looking at traditional systems, process situations of transition, Inuit, Maori, all around the world, and started putting the legislation together around these traditional ways in which kids in trouble were captured and held by the community. And that's known as restorative justice. And we wrote what amounted to the white paper, which becomes the draft, which becomes the legislation, around traditional systems.
Yeah. I mean, your life is very interesting. So you spend time in the Antarctic.
Life is interesting.
I love that. What were you doing in the Antarctic?
Well, I got totally exhausted doing the legislative stuff. It's hectic. You're dealing with people. And in the transition, what existed before didn't like us because we were changing things. But then I started working for Getaway, and that was just a total liberation. Wow. I was paid to travel around the world, and get into Antarctica was
hard
one of
life,
the yeah, it's tough. But one of the big wonders is get into Antarctic, but no journalist had been allowed in with the South African Sanai program.
Sure.
So I went along and I took a different approach. I said, how do you guys get your funding? And they said, well, through Parliament. I said, how many of these new parliamentarians know anything about Antarctica? And they said, probably none. So I said, I'll write a book if you take me there. They said, you got a berth.
Oh,
and they
wow.
took me down. I was the first writer in residence in Antarctica, and it was fabulous. I mean, Antarctica is off-planet.
Brilliant
It's
idea.
so
I should
beautiful.
try that.
Try it.
Yeah. Oh, back to gangs. How do gangs form, and why do people gravitate towards gangs?
Well, you know, if you think about it, a gang is a family that kids don't have. So there's many ways to understand gangs, and that's one of them. If you take the extended family system of a place like District 6, you put them in little boxes, in a place like the Cape Flats, and then you put pressure on them so that the nuclear family breaks. What have the kids got left? They're in the street, basically.
So it's almost a response to their displacement.
It is a response to their displacement. And that's one thing that really gets kids into gangs. And there are many other reasons. Obviously, poverty is one of them.
Yes.
If you have the need for a cell phone and you don't have one, what do you do about it?
Yes.
Another one is that there are probably around 200,000 kids under the age of 25 in Cape Town that are not in school, not in training, and not in jobs.
Wow.
And what are they doing? You know, they're hanging out, and teenagers hanging out are trouble. We always know that. We were trouble.
Yeah.
All of us were troubled as teenagers.
What is the solution to gangs?
Oh, that's a big one. I've got a number of solutions, and they're strange to some people. One is that you have to train and help mothers and fathers be good mothers and fathers, because that's really where it starts.
Wow.
You know, if you have a young man who doesn't have a father, who has a violent father, what happens is shame is what happens. He feels that I'm not loved because it's my fault. Oh. And he carries that into teenage years, and that becomes shame and anger. Those two are a toxic mix when you end up as a teenager. Wow. That's one of them. So fathers are terribly important, and we don't really help people. How do we know how to be parents?
Right.
And the other one is mothers.
That's accurate.
You know, mothers make babies inside them. I mean, it's so obvious, but that process happens through genetics of mother and father and of the epigenetics of the moment of the time, and that's happening all the time. So if mothers are hyper-stressed, if they don't have enough food, if they take drugs of some sort, that's changing the chemical composition of the child they're making. And that has particular implications for later life. That child is told really chemically that it's going to be tough out there and you've got to be tough. And that is how they are made. They come out fighting, as it were. And that's a very new area of criminology. It hasn't arrived yet. It's a very new science, basically. And it's controversial.
Are there programs or situations where we can apply your findings and these solutions? I mean, they sound incredible.
Well, the solutions are across a wide range. We have to keep kids in school.
Yeah.
You know, half the kids that start school bail. They don't get to the end because school's boring. Really, I mean, for kids, they're doing things that they don't see any value in their later life.
Wow.
My whole thing about schooling is you've got to have hand knowledge as well as head knowledge. Teach people to use their bodies as well as their heads. We teach from the neck up in education, and kids don't see the value of that.
Sure.
But you know, there are lots of other things that need to. It's not just one approach. There's not a magic bullet here.
For sure,
we have to change society gradually to make sure that we hold the next generation in a safe space. They've got to feel good.
Approach,
and the center of that is resilience. You know, the core of what I've been doing is how do you build resilience in kids? What makes a kid have a choice and step away from it?
And take it,
and that is a difference between what I call adolescence limited behavior. We all go through that, we bounce out. Or life course persistent, which just gets worse and worse and worse. And those kids we need to look at very carefully.
Thank you so much, Don. This is a wealth of information. I could pick your brain forever. Thank you. Today we're giving away copies of Gangtown by Don Pinnock. All you have to do is SMS the keyword books, your name and city to 33728. SMSs cost R1.50. T's and C's apply and can be found on afternoonexpress.co.za. After the break, we're taking a look at the SABC's Men in Making campaign 2016. We'll be back after this.
Winner Home, South Africa's premier design and decor reality show is back. And we're proud to announce that the highly anticipated third season will be hosted from the Afternoon Express loft. Are you a passionate and qualified designer with less than 5 years work experience with a hunger to make it big? Then this is your chance. You could be one of 3 designers who will turn 3 white box apartments into haute couture homes on a prestigious lifestyle estate in the Cape Winelands. You could win a cash prize and become the next big name in South African interior design. Log on to afternoonexpress.co.za now. Click on Winner Home and fill out the application form. Send us your design portfolio and you could be one of the 3 design contestants who showcase their talent to South Africa. Applications close on the 11th of April, so apply now. T's and C's apply and are available on our website. That's Winner Home coming soon to Afternoon Express, weekdays at 4 p.m. Find it on 3.
Fresh Pack. Goodness comes naturally.
A warm welcome back to Afternoon Express. It's been such a motivational episode, and if you've just tuned in, make sure you go and find the YouTube full edition next week on our YouTube channel. It's going to be absolutely fascinating one as we focus on the role of men in society. Now, the Men in the Making campaigns is a partnership of the SABC and various other businesses who are working together to help the future youth of this country get into the right field of work and make the right career choices to allow for their full potential to be recognized. We went to check out what went down this year.
The Men in the Making project is a call to action where we are inviting businesses to adopt young boys from grade 9 to 12, assisting them with career guidance, motivation, assisting them in finding positive role models. We started this project as the SABC in 2009, where we're having a conversation around why is society not talking to the needs of young boys. As a society, as a broadcaster, even in our programming, we are mainly focused on the plight of women, the plight of girls.
And we said, but what is the importance of only promoting one side and not promoting the boy child? Because at the end, we want them to be equal, as our constitution says. And we then thought, let us now get into this project,
where we invite boys from schools, surrounding areas, to participate on this day, which we've termed a National Day for a Boy Child, where they would be receiving motivational speeches, career guidance, and be entertained.
We think that we need to say to them that you must start being responsible for your actions. Because we have realized that young boys want to blame other people when they do wrong things. The minute they take responsibility for their actions, they will know that for every action, there is a reaction. Therefore, there are consequences for everything that you do. It's the issue of saying garbage in, garbage out. Therefore, if you put positivity in you, there will be positivity going out.
Some of them could be the Mark Zuckerbergs of tomorrow. This platform should be able to create such individuals.
Programs like this are important because they teach us a lot. As young boys, we all want to be free, all want to make decisions, yet not knowing what can happen. But as the people who are talking to us, they have been through that, so they can coach us and tell us this is the way to go.
I felt that it was important for me because a lot of the time I don't feel support from people around me and there's not enough motivation. But then when I go to such forums, I feel more empowered and motivated.
Young men need support because a lot is expected of them in society and they may not know how to go about it in their life. So support from parents, teachers, even your peers will help a man become the best he can be.
I would say a program like this is important because it teaches young men to be like a break from the norm, to like be your own man and stand your ground and like follow what you believe in and don't go with what you could go with what you see around, but actually convert it into your own thing because like past leaders didn't follow trends, they actually made their trends. Now people follow that. So I think it's important because it teaches us that you can do your own thing in spite of what anybody thinks of it.
This is a platform for us to say, boys, be a better man. Here is an opportunity for you to be a man amongst men.
And sometimes you need to break out of the line sometimes. You let yourself be known to people in order to achieve what you actually want to achieve.
Probably the most important lesson which keeps ringing in my mind is that it doesn't matter where you come from, but it's where you end up. And it's okay to do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what other people are saying.
Important lesson I've learned today is the self-belief thing that if you believe in yourself, you can achieve. It relates back to my favorite quote. Whatever you think you can or can't do, you're right. And it's your attitude towards a situation, not your background.
If you stay true to yourself and persevere, you can achieve the biggest thing.
What my mentor told me, he said, if you follow your passion, you will go through it with ease.
And again, you could motivate yourself because if you don't motivate yourself, you can't really trust other people to support you. So you gotta have your support system in you first, then other people can contribute to that so you can achieve.
We need support mostly from our teachers because they are the people who we spend most of our times with. And then support from our parents who let us do whatever we want to do when we grow up.
There's a difference between pride and knowing you can do something.
For us, the emphasis is to say being a man is not only about having beard, having muscles, having a deep voice. Being a man is responsibility. We want to entrench the responsibility so that the young people can understand and focus on what they want to be. And if all of us do that, we are going to end up having a better South Africa because the people would know what they want and take the opportunities that come before them.
Wow, what an absolutely fascinating discussion. Men in the Making, such a cool initiative. I remember meeting some of the guys at my radio station and they were also passionate about just wanting to learn information. And so it's so cool that we've opened up this topic on our show today and our guests are just so apt for this discussion. Did you guys ever have people when you were young who you grew up with that taught you what it meant to be a man in society?
It's because I'm from the younger generation.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. I mean,
was he the guy? Did he teach you? Yeah.
Well, you see, it's what I mentioned earlier about, you know, having different men in my life that have shaped me to be I am. Whether it's my grandfather who, you know, was a very influential person in Soweto back in the days. You know, he had a couple of businesses like supermarket stores, whatever, you know, back in that era. To my uncle, who was, you know, very active in politics, you know, went on to Robben Island for 13 years. He was active in the struggle, you know, came out, went into business, that whole sort of narrative. And you pick up all these things, you know, from them other than just your dad, you know, who, in my case, has also played a significant role. You learn what you can. I think not everything about somebody is something you need to take. Otherwise, you end up being like them.
Exactly.
So you got to stay true to yourself, which is what I've done, but also take very important, valuable lessons.
But you had really great characters that were around you, like there's stories of greatness that you could look up to and say that there is more.
To be great, though.
Oh yeah, true. And you know, you can imagine in my family, you know, very politically orientated, and then here's this guy who wants to get into media. But fortunately, they recognize the value of media because, you know, of the background as well, and what they went through. You know, during times of the struggle and all of that. But like I said, it's more than just one man that has played a role in my life. Yeah.
And you know what inspires me about this campaign is that I've always felt like boy children are ignored a bit in terms of campaigns and initiatives. Have you found that yes,
there's not
enough intervention when it comes to boys?
You know, Robert Bly, the poet, said that a young man who's not being admired by an older man is being hurt. And it's true. My father was a tough policeman, and he wasn't necessarily the role model. He showed me that I needed to be a criminologist in order to figure out what he was up to. But the role models, I wanted to study African history because everything was popping around me. I didn't know what was going on. And there was this wonderful lecturer, Robin Hallett at university. And I went to him and said, Robin, you know, I want to study this stuff, but I'm working, I can't afford it, I've got to, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, you want to know? Come. He just come and sit with me. And he was my mentor right through university. I skipped a year of undergraduate. He got me through in 2 years. I skipped honours. I went into masters. And this one man just took me right through.
Sure.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. What really stands out for me, I think this is something that I've learned in my life, is that the idea of mentorship is such a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
It is
I think
huge.
somebody to look up to is such a big deal. People might think that it's not such a big deal. It is so massive. And particularly the space we're finding in our country at the moment, the guys who are in the media are not the great examples that we need to have. So we're looking for more new role models for these young kids.
And it's as simple as just realizing that you need that input and actually just asking somebody that you admire. I find that many people want to help and they want to be mentors. It's just... You just have to ask them.
Mo Flava want to be my mentor?
But you see, this mentorship is interesting because I get a lot of requests from people to be their mentor. But I also find it difficult because I can only show you when you're next to me and you're watching what I do. And sometimes it's difficult because, you know, you can't take people everywhere.
And it's the subtleties of your life.
You do what we can.
Mentorship is birthed from relationship.
Exactly, and it's almost like it's a program. Okay, now I'm going to mentor you. No, it doesn't quite work like that. It's a process. It's almost like a relationship.
You're right.
That's how I understand it.
It's essentially a relationship. You know, I'm part of the Chrysalis Academy, which takes young people through a process. And part of that is taking them into the wilderness with a mentor. And then they sleep by themselves at night with a sleeping bag and water and no food. And there's a whole ritual process that they go through. And that ritual process, which is part of the book that I've just written, and also part of the process we do, they change. They actually change. They suddenly discover somebody who teaches them that they are valued. You know, there was an example where a young guy was being interviewed for Chrysalis, and he sat down, and the woman said to him, "Tell me about yourself." And he started talking. And he got up and he walked away, and she thought, what did I do wrong? A little bit later, quite a lot later, he came and sat down again. She said, what did I do? You know, he said, nothing. She said, why did you get up and walk away? He said, nobody's ever asked me to tell them about myself, and I didn't want you to see me cry. He was 18.
Wow.
And you know, to hold people for the first time when they're 18 is almost too late.
Sure, totally. Guys, what a fascinating conversation. Really, really inspiring for our young adults in South Africa. So I hope, James, that you're listening, and I hope all of these young guys who are out there wanting to become great, go out, find yourself a mentor, and really just absorb as much knowledge as you can from the best of the best. After the break, you want to go for it? Yeah.
Do it.
After the break, guys, we're finishing off our final touches on dinner. It is a black Thai rice with chicken and coconut lime dressing. It's going to be absolutely delicious. Stay right where you are.
Salati Plantation Select adds subtle sweetness to toffees, caramel, bran muffins, or sprinkled into a spicy curry. Salati, always good, always sweet.
Five Roses blends only the top 2 leaves of the finest Ceylon teas. Because nobody makes better tea than you and Five Roses.
Welcome back. We're in the kitchen. We're about to put the finishing touches to our exotic rice dish, right?
That's right. So what I've done is I cooked the rice, chopped up some mint, some basil, some chili and some ginger, and just tossed it through the rice while it was kind of still warm to suck up all those flavors. And that's like a meal on its own. That's good to go.
I see this.
But we're
going to some spring onion you've got in there as well.
And the chili, just for a little bit of heat, you know? Okay. So in here I've got some lime juice. I'm going to add the last bit of it. This is for our dressing. Right. So key, it's very important, we work on balancing. So the lime juice is going to give us that sourness. All this coconut milk gives us a creaminess. We can add it all in. I'm going to add a touch of spring onion to it, just for a little extra flavor. It's in there already. Okay. A little bit of extra ginger. And we spoke about the, saltiness from our fish sauce. Fish touch. And the sweetness, no sugar. Gonna get from our mangoes. They're really ripe and super sweet. So just get that in there.
Perfect.
Let's get it all blended up. So can I ask if you can just pop the chicken on the plate in any way you want to?
Anywhere I want. Okay. The pressure's on.
I'm gonna whiz this up so long. There we go. Awesome. And then, like I said, the chicken has been seasoned with a little bit of lime juice, a little bit of salt. simple flavors. For someone that does not like cucumber, I think I use it way too much.
I see this.
Cucumber.
It's so pretty, though. I love the way you cut it.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
That amazing crunch from our coconut.
From the coconut.
There we go. Sprinkle it all over, extra flavor. I'm going to pour the sauce into this guy for you. You want to take this along?
Of course I do.
Let me just give you the sauce before you go.
Okay.
And that's it. Dinner is done,
it
guys.
Looks amazing. I can't wait to serve it. Oh,
there you
just
go.
pop it on the plate. Ta-da!
So delicious. We can't wait to be on air with you guys, same time, same place tomorrow, right here on Afternoon Express. Thanks so much to our guests. This food looks delicious. Clem, Bon, you did a great job. Good night. Happy eating.
Yum.
Coming up tomorrow on Afternoon Express, we're joined by women excelling in sports traditionally dominated by men, including MMA fighter Danila Eliasov, teenage professional motocross rider Natasha Rugani, and the 13-year-old cricket prodigy Christine Tomlinson.
Another feel-good production.
Hi YouTubers, thank you so much for watching. Your support means the world to us. Join the Afternoon Express family by subscribing to our channel right here. And we'll keep you up to date with all our recipes and of course our fabulous episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment and share this video. We do love it when you express yourself.